Are you a movie buff? Do you love dissecting and analyzing your favorite films? Look no further than the Projection Booth podcast. Join host Mike White and a bevy of guest experts as they explore the history, themes, and legacy of cult classics, obscure gems, and mainstream hits. Join us every week for a unique and engaging look at your favorite movies. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and tune in to the Projection Booth podcast, available on all major podcast platforms.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, creeps. It's me, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Chronicles from the Crypt.
Why, hello there, I'm Casualty Chris.
And this is Father Malone.
We're the hosts of Chronicles from the Crypt, a twice-a-month look at the cult horror anthology series Tales from the Crypt that aired on HBO from 1989 to 1996.
The series is based on the 1950s EC comics. In each of the podcasts, we'll be taking a look at 2 episodes of the show, and along the way we'll have a few bonus podcasts covering movies, other Tales-related TV shows, and some tangentially related material that bears a striking resemblance to Tales from the Crypt. And I think we're doing one of those right now, aren't we?
I was about to say, right now we're doing one of those. This is our first bonus episode. We're going to do a bonus episode between every season. Hell, we may even do more than one bonus episode. Strap in, because there's some really exciting, interesting Tales-related ephemera that we could get into that we've been finding along the way. However, we're not having to search very hard to talk about the movie called Tales from the Crypt from 1972 from Amicus Pictures, directed by Freddie Francis. It's written by Milton Subotsky and stars the 3 kind of big names in the film: Joan Collins, Peter Cushing in a very un-Peter Cushing-like role, and Ralph Richardson as a very human Crypt Keeper.
Sir Ralph Richardson. Let's point that out.
Sir Ralph Richardson.
Yes.
From the Crypt. Death lives. Who's next? Perhaps you? PG.
So the synopsis of the film is pretty straightforward. 5 strangers get lost in a crypt and they meet the Crypt Keeper, and he sits them down and tells them stories about how they're going to die. Mike, what did you think of this film? This was definitely not your first time watching it. However, it was mine.
This is perhaps one of my favorite movies of all time. I think I saw this young enough. You know, I mentioned that I got into Tales from the Crypt probably by seeing the movie Creep Show back in 1982. That's not entirely true in retrospect because I saw this movie much earlier. This was a mainstay of local broadcast television. You would see it at least once or twice a year, usually on a show that I watched back in Boston called Creature Double Feature, which was on every Sunday afternoon, so you'd get 2 horror movies in a row. This would usually play with movies like The Monster Club or Vault of Horror, which is actually kind of a direct sequel to it, or any number of the other anthologies that Amicus sort of trafficked in. I think this is a very worthy interpretation of the Tales from the Crypt comics. I mean, with the exception maybe of their interpretation of what the Crypt Keeper actually was. It's interesting because they have him as like a monk almost, so he's like a hooded character, which if you read the EC comics at all, you know that the old witch, not the Crypt Keeper, but the Vault Keeper, both wear hoods, whereas the Crypt Keeper never did. Now, putting that aside, I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a very different take on Tales from the Crypt. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. I know that you really liked it, and so that to me means that it's probably going to be good. I feel like some of the stories drag on. One of the stories just kind of doesn't really hit for me at all. I think overall it's a fun film. It's a welcome change from the Tales from the Crypt that we know. It's through a different lens. It's not as tongue-in-cheek. It's played a lot more straight, a lot more serious, which is kind of fun to see it a little bit more serious. Yeah, the Crypt Keeper is kind of an odd situation, and we'll obviously touch on that, but let's just kind of, because the film is broken into 5 stories, let's just kind of run through each of the stories from the get-go. So we're introduced to the characters. They meet the Crypt Keeper after wandering off from a tour in the catacombs, even though they're told not to. And so the first story is the original telling, the first screen telling of a story that is very near and dear to your heart and all through the house. And instead of Mary Ellen Trainor, it is Joan Collins.
Joan Collins, who is 1 billion% better than Mary Ellen Trainor in this role, represents a level of sophisticated evil in all the ways that Mary Ellen Trainor was kind of a bumbling fool. It completely lacks any of the sort of boring expositional dialogue that was peppered through the American version, the Robert Zemeckis version. The story is effectively exactly the same. It is a wife murders her husband on Christmas Eve. She has a young daughter there. It just so happens that a mental patient has escaped from an asylum and has donned a Santa Claus costume, although in this case it's Father Christmas, because these stories all take place in England. This movie is an English production. Amicus was an English company. All the acting and all the settings are all in England. However, where it differs from the American one is how skillful and stylish the whole thing is, particularly the set design. Let's sort of point to that. It's sort of that retro-futurist early 70s, sort of passing out of the mod phase in England and into a more contemporary design. I love the look of the house in this one. When we talked about the American version, I said that they kind of stacked the deck in favor of the heroine, or the villain, if you will, because they made her husband to be kind of a prick, like from the get-go. And in this case, they don't do that. They go just in the opposite direction. They make him like really, really sweet. Like he's bought her this brooch, and like he's written this sweet card to her. This line always sort of sticks in my head where they're showing you the note, and at the bottom he's written like an X, like for a kiss, and he narrates it in his head to us, and he says, "and a big kiss" at the very end. What did you think of this version of it?
I mean, obviously it's much better than the Mary Ellen Trainor one, but again, that's not really hard, like you said. You've got Joan Collins, who is much more of an evil character, which I think works in this telling of the story, and it also helps that they downplay the idea that her husband is an asshole. I think playing up the fact that she's just really mean-spirited and a murderess, and downplaying that he's just kind of like an asshole works in its favor, which is a lot of fun for kind of flipping the original shows or the show's premise on its head, because it's not what you're expecting if you're going into this expecting it to be similar to the show. Everything else is the same, essentially.
Pretty much.
Which is good, and it's also feels shorter than the episode, which is also good.
I believe it actually is.
Yeah, that was one of the problems I had with the episode, is that it feels like they were padding it out for time. And in this, it's pretty straight to the point. There's not a whole lot of dicking around. There's not a whole lot of wheel spinning. Straight to the point, really straightforward. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good, and Joan Collins is really good. Joan Collins definitely is the standout.
The character in the American version, like, she kills her husband and then doesn't really seem to have a plan beyond that. Whereas this character has thought it through. She knows that she's going to hit him in the head with this thing, and then she's going to make it look as if he tumbled down the stairs. Now, I mean, obviously, she gets some blood everywhere, and that was unforeseen. Nevertheless, she's ready to scoop it all up into a champagne flute and then pour it at the bottom of the stairs so it looks as if he had just fallen down and died. Whereas the Mary Ellen Trainor characters was going to take his body into the backyard and then dump him into a well, thus ensuring that she would never get the insurance money because he would just be a missing person for a couple of years. So a much more devious character in this case. And I gotta say, because of that fact, I'm actually on her side as the episode progresses. Whereas the Mary Ellen Trainor, I was kind of like, man, if she gets killed, she gets killed. She's kind of an idiot anyway.
I'm not on her side because she's obviously a very malicious character, but I think that, again, the only thing that is lacking is the performance by the Father Christmas. But again, kind of cutting it for time means that you don't have to really go out of your way to really play it up like they did with Larry Drake in the Tales from the Crypt TV show.
Yeah, I mean, they just need the outside threat.
Yeah, it's a really good kind of opener to the movie. I think it's definitely better than the original, or the TV show, which, again, works in its favor because you know that I'm not a huge fan of the TV show's version.
I think it's interesting that they started with this. Like, you know, ordinarily Christmas is the end of the year, and you think this would be sort of the capper at the end, but they sort of they launch with it, which I like, and it's not a supernatural tale necessarily. We get a little bit of both, or rather, you know, supernatural and not throughout the thing, but it's a good, nice intro to the tone that Tales from the Crypt sort of likes to balance. So, I think this particular story is a winner.
So then we move on to Reflections of Death. That is from Tales from the Crypt number 23 of the same title. Now, Reflections of Death is one that I don't believe is ever touched upon in the show.
No, they never remade this.
Which is fine because, honestly, it's not much.
Mm-hmm. It's a scant episode, yes, but or rather story. I still like it though.
The payoff is again, it's like it's all really centered around this twist. So you have Ian Hendry, who plays a philandering family man who is running away with his girlfriend, and they get into a car accident, and then he wakes up from the car accident, and then it turns out that he's actually been dead.
Oh, he's a walking corpse at this point. Yeah, it all goes to like a POV of him sort of wandering and terrifying anyone who sort of encounters him. He finds his girlfriend. Oh, doesn't he? He goes home at one point.
Right, and he notices his wife with another man.
Yeah, like the name on the mailbox is now different, and so then he goes and finds his ex-girlfriend or his girlfriend at the time, who he thinks, and realizes it's time has moved on, and now she's like blind and living in the same apartment that they were running from.
She's blind from the accident, I'm assuming.
From the accident, yeah, and that's when he sees his own reflection and realizes he's dead. The makeup is not great. It is 1972, and this is like a 170,000 pound production, but I don't really care. The fact that he wakes up and he's dead, or rather realizes he's dead, to me isn't the good twist. The fact that he then wakes up from the dream and it happens again. This idea that, Stephen King once said hell is repetition. And I like the idea that this prick who is sort of abandoning his children, like, is going to re-experience this thing over and over again.
See, I didn't take it as him repeating it over and over. I took it as him just waking up and then actually dying. So it was like a premonition.
Oh, no, I see that. Yeah, I guess that's my interpretation then, because everything sort of happened exactly the way it happened. I mean, I guess they sort of worked this out over and over again in the Final Destination movies. But I was under the impression that he's locked in that loop, that's going to be his eternity.
Once you figure out the twist at the end of the film, that's probably the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's the shortest bit in the entire film.
Yeah,
it's like maybe
it's not the best story here.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not the best story. However, speaking of the best story, move on to the third story of the film, Poetic Justice. It's taken from The Haunt of Fear number 12, which was published in March 1952. It stars David Markham, Robin Phillips, and Peter Cushing. Markham and Phillips play a father and son who are trying to get a widowed hermit out of their neighborhood because he's
lowering the property values. He's a trash collector, he literally is a garbage man, and he collects little bits of trash like toys and things, and he fixes them up and he gives them to the neighborhood kids, and he has too many dogs in his place. He's as you said, he's a widower, so like his only joy are in his dogs and in making the neighborhood kids happy. But these two rich sons of bitches look at him and his hovel that he lives in. They want him out so that they can raise the property values in their neighborhood.
And it is the most sad, depressing story I've ever seen associated with Tales from the Crypt. It is such
Absolutely.
a bummer and a downer. But I mean, there is the two characters who are destroying Peter Cushing's life do get their comeuppance at the end. However,
oh my,
it doesn't feel like enough.
Is it commensurate with what happens to poor Arthur Grimsdyke? I don't know.
No, it doesn't feel like enough. In my opinion, it doesn't feel like enough. They get his dogs taken away. They essentially imply that he's molesting children, and then they make sure that he loses his job.
Yeah, like weeks before his pension is supposed to kick in, right?
And then the son sends him poison pen, which is a term for like slanderous mail, in the form of Valentines, and he kills himself because of it, because the poison pen Valentines essentially say, hey, we don't want you here, hey, we don't like you here, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, they're all signed in the basically the names of all of the neighborhood people, and they are horrifically mean-spirited. And it should be pointed out that as a widower, there's a bit where he engages in automatic writing, like he uses a planchette and like a Ouija board to talk with his dead wife, tell her of his woes and how much he misses her. And these guys push him so far over the edge that he eventually hangs himself.
However, he does finally get his comeuppance by ripping out the son's heart and writing a Valentine of his own a year later. And I will say the makeup on Peter Cushing when he comes back from the dead, pretty good, pretty creepy.
It's fantastic.
Pretty rough, but rough in a gross way, if that makes sense.
If the makeup in the rest of the movie is lacking, it's because they put it in this story, and it is well worth it. The look of Arthur Grimsdyke when he crawls out of that grave is super spectacular as far as I'm concerned. It's one that has stuck with me ever since childhood. It's funny, I follow, Rick Baker, the sort of makeup artist. He'll constantly post on Instagram, photos of things he's done for Halloween. And I believe just this past year, he actually went as Arthur Grimsdyke for Halloween. He did a really credible job. But putting that aside, this is my favorite story featured here in this anthology. They did not remake this for the television series either.
Which is surprising because it is so good.
It is absolutely shocking, given some of the ones that they chose to adapt, that they wouldn't have gone here. It is heartbreaking. Peter Cushing, who plays mainly heavies, I think most people in the world today, particularly here in America, would know him as Grand Moff Tarkin in the original Star Wars: A New Hope. And that's kind of a shame because he had a long and illustrious career. But he always sort of played very forthright, strong characters. To see this character who is so broken and beaten down is a departure for him, but a welcome one. He's reading these cards, and you can see every emotion in those big eyes of his. It's an amazing performance, much better than I won't say than the movie deserves, but certainly a remarkable piece of work in film.
Well, and again, he really is the cornerstone and the rock of this episode of this bit in the film, and his performance will stick with me. It's the best. Like you said, this is the best thing in this film. is this bit, this story, the poetic justice story.
Now, I will say this because I am a big Peter Cushing fan. I'll point out that in 1943, he married his love of his life, a woman named Helen. She died about 6 months before they made this film. And originally, he was offered a different role in the film, and he chose to do this one instead. As heartbreaking as his performance is, just on the surface, knowing that, it makes it even more so.
A little bit of catharsis.
A little bit, but at the same time, if you read anything about him, you would know that he literally said these words, like, I'm just killing time. Life for him had effectively, he said, lost meaning. He, in fact, wanted to kill himself, but found a poem that his wife had written him, urging him to continue on in her absence. This performance in this story, I mean, I'm sure most people would just sort of dismiss this movie as, a sort of, one-off cheapy horror movie, and they're only doing themselves a disservice because this is one of the best performances of his career. It's remarkable to see in the middle of this particular film. Yeah, I cannot recommend this highly enough, this particular story. I mean, I recommend the movie overall, but if you had to watch one thing of it, it would be this. I mean, I would actually put this particular story and the way it's handled up against any of the best of the TV series as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's going to stick with me more than most of the good episodes of the show will, because it's just everything about Peter Cushing's performance really just roots it in reality in a way that a lot of the episodes of Tales from the Crypt don't, and they give you a reason to care about the character. And it's like probably 17, 18 minutes?
Yeah, if that. It is so lean, and it is plot-driven. Somehow he manages, in what little screen time he's given, to imbue that character with such pathos. I think we've all known this kind of person, this sort of lonely old man. I don't know, it absolutely breaks my heart.
It's a downer of a bit in the movie, but it is the best. It's the best bit, without a doubt.
As you said earlier, I appreciate this particular story beginning to end. I do wish, in my crazy heart of hearts, no pun intended, if he had somehow punished these people even more. I mean, he effectively just shows up and rips that guy's heart out, but he deserved a much worse fate than what he was given. So, I mean, I guess that maybe speaks to the character of Arthur Grimsdyke, that even in the end, he's kind of merciful in his revenge.
Yeah, that, like I said, it kind of at the lead into this, talking about this bit, I feel like he should have really, gone for it. Really. They should have had him, get his comeuppance, on them in spades.
Yeah.
So, well, let's move on to the next one. Next one's not so great. It's called Wish You Were Here. It's based on Wish You Were Here from The Haunt of Fear, number 22. It is a variation on the classic Monkey's Paw story by W.W. Jacobs. It stars Richard Green as a businessman who can't seem to provide for his wife, played by Barbara Murray. She has a Chinese figurine that she was told grants 3 wishes. She makes 3 wishes. Everything goes awry. Mike, I'm going to level with you. This one was not very good. Actually, this one is probably the least exciting bit of the film, even more so than Reflections of Death.
This one is effectively a stage play. I mean, it is a couple of characters in a room. As you said, it is just a play on the Monkey's Paw where, she makes a wish to get $1 million and they get $1 million, but it's because the husband was killed in a car accident. They did a variation on this in the Twilight Zone as well, the original Twilight Zone, it was a genie episode. They don't do anything too remarkable with it. The performances are pretty good. I will say that this is just because I saw this movie as young as I did. The final kind of twist at the end where they learned their lesson from the Monkey's Paw, the original tale in this. At least there's that, where she wants him back, but before he was killed in the car wreck. Because she doesn't want a mangled corpse showing up at the door. So instead, she gets the dead body. Now, I guess it doesn't make logical sense, as an adult looking back at this, but then she wishes for him to be alive as he is now and to never ever die, but he's already been embalmed. So he's screaming in agony because his blood has been replaced with formalin. They chop him to pieces. I don't know. It's it doesn't make a lot of sense, and I know, I get where you're coming from on it, but It really twisted my mind as a kid to think of this guy like in constant agony who can never die, and they even chop him into pieces, making it much worse. I like the ending of this one a lot.
The ending of this reminded me of Return of the Living Dead, where you have the zombie cut up into pieces and it's just kind of wriggling around. It's a little goofy.
A little bit. I like the motorcycle guy. I like the sort of death head motorcycle guy that comes for him. I like that.
That's probably the most interesting part is the Grim Reaper on a motorcycle, but it's just, I don't know, you've seen this story a million times. It's been parodied on everything from The Simpsons to, like you said, it was on Twilight Zone. I'm sure it's been on the Twilight Zone several times in several variations. It's not a new story. It's the be careful what you wish for. I believe it was even made into a film this year, Wish Upon. Essentially the same.
Yeah.
The same fucking story. So
absolutely.
It's not original, and that's kind of the big kind of bummer for me is like, I wish it were more, because it comes right after Poetic Justice, which is so good.
Yeah, look, ultimately they should have used Poetic Justice at the very end of this. Or maybe they did. I don't know. The last story actually ends up being pretty good. This one should have come immediately after and all through the house as far as the order of the stories go. But let me point out this, Chris. The Frogurt is also cursed.
The Frogurt is also cursed. God damn it. Oh, we also have Frogurt. The Frogurt is also cursed. I'm glad that you've seen that. Okay, because that's...
Oh my god, yeah, no, that's one of the best Simpsons of all time.
But that's not Monkey's Paw, though. Isn't that the doll?
No, I think that's the Monkey's Paw episode. He sells forbidden objects, and he gives him the Monkey's Paw. That is the Monkey's Paw episode.
Yeah, again, it's like when you've been parodied by The Simpsons, it's like you've kind of reached the zenith of pop culture penetration.
The Simpsons are parodying the twist in your story, then there's probably no reason to retell that story ever again.
So we'll move on to the final bit from the film, Blind Alleys, taken from Tales from the Crypt, number 46 from February 1955. It features Nigel Patrick and Patrick McGee. Nigel Patrick plays a former military man who is tasked with being the director of a home for the blind. Patrick McGee plays one of the blind residents, and they get their comeuppance on him in astounding fashion after he starts making budget cuts so that he can live a more luxurious lifestyle on the grounds. This one almost edges out Poetic Justice because Patrick McGee is amazing.
Most people know Patrick McGee, if they know him at all, from A Clockwork Orange. He plays the writer in it that Alex DeLarge there sort of assaults at the beginning and who ends up attempting to kill him by the end of the thing. It's a great performance. He's an interesting fella. Good, sort of always creepy, even when he's being a nice guy, character actor. And this one's a real good one. I take it back. This, Poetic Justice is the best in the lot, but I think this is how you want to end a movie. The ending is so severe and interesting.
Well, and Blind Alleys was remade. It was called Revenge. Revenge is the Nuts on the show. That episode features Terry Polo and Anthony Zerbe, one of the great character actors. So this one was remade. I don't remember the episode at all. I'm assuming it has to have been a later one.
Yes, I do believe it is. I think it was maybe third or fourth season. We should point out that the previous episode was also remade. The Monkey's Paw episode, Wish You Were Here, was remade, and it was remade by Freddie Francis, who directed this movie.
Yeah, but again, the plot is very similar to this, the previous one. Again, I don't know how creative you can get with the Monkey's Paw plot device.
In the case of the Tales from the Crypt episode of the TV series, it improves on Wish You Were Here in almost every way. They do come up with an interesting twist. Obviously, we're going to get to it eventually. It's actually a pretty innovative use of the sort of Monkey's Paw trope.
Well, I'm looking forward to that because I don't remember either of these episodes. However, back to Blind Alleys, it is such a good segment in this film that it almost, like I said, it almost edges out Poetic Justice because everything about it has that little bit of like dagger twist comeuppance that Poetic Justice doesn't have. You really feel that Patrick McGee's character and the rest of the blind people at the home for the blind really get their comeuppance on Nigel Patrick. In a way that feels not only deserved, but also well-earned.
Yeah, very well-earned. I mean, this is, this guy takes over this home for the blind, and he's a former military commander. And so, he effectively treats everyone like his troops and that they should be able to endure whatever he dishes out, to the point of like feeding them less and less decent food, and then, cutting the amount of heating oil that they can use during the winter, and not even giving them blankets to sort of take. It is very close to poetic justice in watching these poor men, have to suffer at the hands of this son of a bitch who living a good life, like his quarters are not heated, and he's eating steaks, and he's feeding steaks to his dog. And we should point out that the dog is very important in this, that he has like a German Shepherd who is very well maintained and cared for, because he does figure very heavily into the comeuppance aspect of the ending. Yeah, I really like this one a lot. And I do not remember the TV version either, so I'm actually looking forward to it. Though I understand, just from what I've read, that there is a bit of a variation in it with the American one. But, we'll see. As it stands, though, this is a really good episode. It's actually a good bookend to Poetic Justice because, as I said, most Tales from the Crypt episodes either hewed one way or the other. They were either supernatural or just sort of straight-ahead thriller. And this is kind of the straight-ahead thriller version of Poetic Justice, which is leans more toward the supernatural.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This is one of those well-done non-supernatural episodes. Or segments. And that's kind of few and far between in the show and in the movie as well, because the non-supernatural segments, I guess technically there's only one other one, which is the same.
And All Through the House.
Yeah, but this is better than And All Through the House, like heads and shoulders above it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I think Patrick McGee's performance is better than Joan Collins.
Yeah, but then he's got a lot more to chew on. Joan Collins, I mean, you can't discount a person who is effectively just by themselves and sort of having to register everything without dialogue. They're like, again, what I really enjoyed about the End All Through the House episode here was the fact that they let the audience sort of fill in all the gaps, whereas in the American version, they had her spouting everything that was coming into her head and speaking out every motivation that her character was sort of under the sway of. Look, there's no question that this is the way you end a horror anthology. You got to hit them hard and sort of make them crawl out of the theater.
And then the bookend ending, it wouldn't be Tales from the Crypt without an actual bookend ending, has the Crypt Keeper revealing that everything that we've already seen has happened. It wasn't a warning. They died without repentance, and they all go to hell.
They do. And I don't know that this was actually, I know for a fact, this was not the first time Amicus used this ending with a group of disparate characters who have come together to hear their tales, and then they end up in hell. It's effective.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not exactly the most creative ending, but that's because we've all seen stuff like this at this point, and also, it's not like this was a hard conclusion to come to either. So
these characters might have figured it out a long time ago.
And I think now is as good a time as any to talk about Sir Ralph Richardson as the Crypt Keeper. Was not my cup of tea.
Well, he certainly wouldn't be if you had any exposure to the American television series, which got closer to the spirit of the original character without sort of mimicking the original character. Like, if you read the comic books, he's not a corpse at all. He's just a crazy man, a long-haired spinner of yarns. Look, they hired Sir Ralph Richardson. He's going to put in a Ralph Richardson performance. If you don't know Ralph Richardson, by the way, he was in Dr. Zhivago, and he played the eternal being in Time Bandits. He's a very well-respected Shakespearean actor. I don't know how they got him, honestly, for this micro-budgeted horror movie, and I'm sure they were like jumping up and down when they did. But I get it. He is definitely not the Crypt Keeper. I doubt he read a comic book in his entire lifetime, so I don't think he was basing his performance on anything but the script. Yeah, it isn't the Crypt Keeper we know and love. I think he works in the sort of purview of this particular film because this film is very humorless. I mean, I think it's funny just because I'm twisted, I guess. It isn't sort of aimed at comedy like the American version seems to be more of. I think he's actually appropriate for the movie, but he ain't no Crypt Keeper. He's no John Cassier.
Well, and that's the thing, is, like you mentioned in the source material, the Crypt Keeper is just a crazy old man. I think Ralph Richardson downplays it too much. It's like...
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's very serious.
Yeah, it's too downplayed. I mean, at the end, he should be kind of like really going for it right at the end. When he's like, and you could be next. Like, it doesn't just mean to be like, and you could be next. It's not haunting or creepy, and it doesn't stick with you. It's kind of the most forgettable part of the film, which is a bummer because
I'll buy that.
Through line of the entire film.
Right. He doesn't kind of revel in any of these things. He's just sort of very matter of fact, and maybe a bit more glee was necessary, at least in the final shot. He should have been pretty ecstatic that he was getting to mete out justice on these evildoers, which they all end up being.
Yeah, and that's kind of my issue. Is it's too downplayed, and it's just unfortunate.
Let me mention one thing quick. Now, the opening of the film, they use what is perhaps an overused piece of music. It is Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. You hear it every Halloween TV special, every kid's Halloween TV special for forever and ever. It's the da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. We've all heard it a million times.
So it's the Dracula music.
Yeah, exactly. The Dracula. Yeah, there you go. Count Von Count on Sesame Street has this music playing when they introduce him. So it is an overused piece of music. However, it is, in my humble opinion, one of the most beautiful pieces of music of all time. And the version that they happen to use here, which I believe is the Royal Philharmonic, is my favorite version of this particular piece of all time. I'm a big fan of Bach. It's pretty much all I listen to when I listen to classical music. And this version is great. I appreciate, as a fan of the theme itself, that they allow almost the entire piece to play over the opening credits. They don't just sort of give us that sting of the the opening few bars and then like, okay, now let's start the story. I know that's a weird aside, but it's one of the things I like about this movie the most.
No, I mean, you're right. Toccata and Fugue always gets the intro notes overplayed. So it is nice to see it being used in its entirety.
And there are portions of it sort of a little bit later on down the piece, which are, in my opinion, like really beautiful. And nobody ever gets to hear it. I mean, the theme itself was used again not too long after this in a movie also starring Sir Ralph Richardson. That was the original Rollerball with James Caan. That's sort of the opening theme for it. But their version is not as good as this version.
So, Mike, would you skip this film or watch it? Would you suggest our listeners skip it or watch it?
Watch it immediately. Immediately. This is a good movie.
Yeah, I would say watch it as well. You just have to, make sure you go into it with kind of the expectation that this is not your average Tales from the Crypt. This is a very different interpretation. This is a very straightforward and serious interpretation.
Do not qualify this. This is a good movie. Everyone should watch it.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
poetic justice alone is worth the price of admission.
Yeah, don't expect this to be Tales from the Crypt, the TV show, because it's nothing like that.
No, it's not that at all. I appreciate that, but there are a couple of these stories which tower above some of the more garbage episodes of the TV series. Which I'm not trying to cast aspersions on the TV series as a whole, but some of the episodes that we're going to be getting to are dreadful, and these are much better. And as I said, like your and mine favorite episode is The Man Who Was Death, and I would put Poetic Justice right beside it, equal in quality.
I would agree with you 100%. All right, on the next episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be taking a look at episodes 1 and 2 of Season 2. We're going to be kicking off Season 2 with a look at Dead Right. That is the episode we talked a little bit about in the Only Sin Deep episode. That features Demi Moore and Jeffrey Tambor. Yes, that Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah, you gotta say it that way now, don't we?
Yeah, I do, unfortunately. Demi Moore plays a gold digger looking to make a quick buck, and she goes to a fortune teller, and that fortune teller gives her a fortune about a fortune that may be coming up soon. And then The Switch is the Arnold Schwarzenegger directed episode featuring William Hickey as a elderly, wealthy man who wants to impress Kelly Preston, of all people. So he goes to Roy Brocksmith for a operation that may switch his body parts with Rick Rossovich's body parts. And I think we're going to have a lot to talk about on those episodes because, boy, those are some episodes for sure.
Those are some episodes indeed. You know what's shocking to me? That Schwarzenegger didn't direct more.
Yeah, he directed Tales from the Crypt, and that's kind of it. Kind of weird, right? It's almost like he wasn't cut out for it.
Clearly, his talents lay behind the camera.
Yeah. Super weird. And we're actually going to be joined by our good friend, the host of the Projection Booth podcast, Mr. Mike White, to kick off that season 2.
Detroit's own Mike White?
Detroit's own Mike White. Until
Fantastic.
then, where can people find you, Mr. Wallace?
They can find me on Twitter at FatherMalone73, or you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is called Ot5 Films. That's all one word. And I have a not TV show, but a show, the reviewing films called You've Never Seen. You can check me out there. And you can also hear me from time to time on the Culture Cast, guest spotting, and upcoming. I believe there's an incredible new podcast coming out called Dreams for Sale. Have you heard of this one, Chris? It's amazing.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's because we're both on it, and we're talking about...
Oh, Jesus, that's right.
We're not talking Tales from the Crypt. We're talking another anthology series. We're talking Twilight Zone 1985.
That's right. We are slowly working our way to every anthology series being covered by us.
We should just start a podcast called The Antho Podcast, where we just watch anthology TV shows. But not garbage like American Horror Story, because that's...
Is that an anthology series? I mean, you know...
Technically, it is.
Yeah, right. I mean, they tell a different story every year, I suppose. But, you know what's crazy is how many seasons of that show and not one scare.
Yeah.
Kind of odd, don't you think?
It's more shock value. It's horror for the 21st century crowd. So it's like, oh, isn't that crazy? There's like a gimp suit guy. It's, Who won?
I like that first season.
Yeah, the first season is the only one worth watching. The most disappointing thing about it is the best thing Ryan Murphy ever did is Nip Tuck. And no, I don't hear anybody talk about that anymore because of Glee or American Horror.
Well, I might disagree with you because his series that just came out called Pose was actually really, really good.
You can follow me on Twitter at Culture Stash. You can follow Chronicles from the Crypt on Twitter at ChroniclesFTC. And you can find us over at chroniclesfromthecrypt.com. We're on all podcatchers, iOS and Android. Give us a favorable review on iTunes. It'll help other people find the show. And, tell other people that like Tales from the Crypt about it, because Tales from the Crypt's pretty cool, and it needs to be brought back up, but not remade.
Yeah, there you go. Or, if it's going to be remade, do it correctly.
Maybe have
and
Jordan
not with
Peele
Shyamalan. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah,
He's the go-to guy all of a sudden, right?
Yeah. Maybe have Jordan Peele do it. That'd be fun. And make sure to check out the next episode.